everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Barbara and today we are here to talk about all the books I read in September. So, as some of you may know, September was the first month of the magical Readathon Orillium, hosted by G at Bookworm, and I joined this readathon and I'm super excited. And for this readathon, the point was to cross this novice path to get to the Orillium Academy. And this novice path had 7 challenges or 7 prompts for which we are supposed to pick a book and read, but it was very nice that only 2 books were required to pass this novice path. However, I like me some challenge and I just thought it was so much fun, so I decided to try and go for all 7. So now let me tell you and show you how it went. So I'm gonna get my cheat sheet here and so I can exactly tell you the names and everything. So on the novice path journey, maybe I'll show a picture over here how it looks and where the points are. So the first point on the novice path journey was the novice path entrance, and for this we're supposed to read a book with a map. So for this prompt I picked The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. This is the first book in this series. It's a YA fantasy series where with our main character Deka, I think her name is. She's around 17 or something like that, and we meet her on the day of the ritual of purity. This means that they will gather all the girls in the village at a certain age and will draw their blood, and if their blood is red, then they are pure. If it's not red, if it's golden, then there is something like they are devil or something like that. And so that's how this starts. It sounds kind of similar start to Hunger Games, but it's not at all the same. And if you know me, you know that I'm not really that much into YA fantasy, but this one was so good and so refreshing. I loved everything about it. The main point of the book is not romance. The main point of the book is actually feminism, which is pretty clear from the beginning, and I loved that. And yeah, it was just really refreshing, and we follow this girl after they find out that, surprise, surprise, she has golden blood. And now, why she has golden blood, where it came from, and what happens to her afterwards, that all we find out, and it's so good. And I read it so fast, I enjoyed it so much. So this was very refreshing, very good. I gave it 4 stars. The next stop on the novice path journey was the Ash Thorn Tree, and here we're supposed to read a book that keeps tempting you or top of your TBR. For this I picked Rich People Problems by Kevin Kwan, which is the last book in Crazy Rich Asians trilogy. Overall, to this trilogy I would give 3 stars because it was enjoyable. I really enjoyed reading it, but it didn't really catch me. I don't know, I already don't remember much of this stuff actually. Yeah, it was really great to see how these ultra rich people live. Like, we can't even imagine that amount of money, and we just follow them how they live like this, and all the rules and everything, so that was really cool. And most of this book was, I felt like 3 stars. It wasn't that amazing, but it had certain deeper value that I really appreciated, and towards the end I even had a little tear coming. So because of that I gave it 4 stars, because the ending was really touching and I liked the ending very much, how it was written and how it was delicately written, the entire thing, because there is some grief and death in this book. And yeah, I really enjoyed how the author focused on the personal side of things instead of only money, money, money. So that I really liked. So this one got 4 stars. The next stop on the novice path journey was the Mist of Solitude, and for this we were supposed to read a standalone. For this one I picked Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. I had this from a library and it fit perfectly for the standalone. I never read anything else by Haruki Murakami before, and I never read anything set in Japan either, so I can't really refer to any other art or any other books from Japan. But this book was very strange. After finishing it, I didn't know if I should give it 2 stars or 5 stars or 4 or what. It was amazing and at the same time so disappointing, because from the beginning I'm really invested in this boy and what happens and the story that is underlying, and there is also this second storyline that we don't know if it takes place at the same time or in the future or in the past or what's happening. This is never explained. And while I care about the characters so much and I really wanted to know what happens, I just got no answers. No answers. And then I read that there was this website after this was released where Haruki Murakami answered, I think, like 1,500 questions of people reading the book, because there had so many questions, so he explained stuff. But this was only in Japanese and then it was taken down later on. So I still have no answers. At the same time, I loved the writing and I really enjoyed it, even though it was quite surreal and it gave me a little bit queasy feeling, a little like it made me lightheaded sometimes. But that's more of my issue than the issue of the book. So I really enjoyed it and I really didn't like the ending, or I didn't like that nothing was explained. And I should have known that coming in, but I just didn't, and there we are. Anyway, this ended up at 4 stars as well. And the next stop on the Novice Path journey was Ruin of the Sky, and for this we are supposed to read a book featuring ghosts, haunted house, or other supernatural elements. And for this I picked The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. This is a break. This is a 550 pages book, and it was awesome. This book takes place on a ship at the end of the 17th century, sailing from India to Amsterdam. And this journey takes 8 months, and there might or might not be a devil on board. And we follow these characters that try to find out where is the devil, who is the devil, is there a devil, what's happening. The first 100 pages were quite slow, so I had quite trouble getting into the story because there was nothing really happening. But at the same time, there are so many characters that we need to know about and we need to recognize who they are, that it felt important that we get to know them in the first 100 pages. After those first 100 pages, it was great and I enjoyed it so much, and it kept me on my toes until the end. And towards the end, when I thought there was like everything was solved, it just kept going, and the ending was a little bit like the weaker part of the book, but at the same time I really enjoyed it and I really liked the ending as well. So I was a little bit disappointed actually, but that was just because I absolutely loved Stuart Turton's previous book, The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. That one was my favorite book of 2020, so I expected a lot from this book as well. And it wasn't as good as Evelyn Hardcastle, but I still enjoyed it so much. It was still so good. So I recommend, if you love ships, if you love mysteries and supernatural elements, this is absolutely great read for you. So this one, 4 stars. I didn't say 4 stars as well. This was very strong 4-star month, and that hasn't happened in a long time before. Okay, the next point on the Novice Path journey was Obsidian Falls, and for this we're supposed to read a thriller or a mystery book. For this prompt I picked 9 Perfect Strangers by Lee Moriarty, and this is not a thriller, I don't think so, it's more of a mystery. It's about these 9 strangers who meet at the Tranquillum house at the health resort, basically. and it sounds all nice and dandy until some strange things start happening, or the strangers basically find out some strange things that they say, this is not why I came here. And I can't say more without spoiling it. It wasn't as tense as I expected it to be, as everybody talks about how amazing this book is, but it definitely was fun. It was definitely something else. And I really enjoyed how the main character in this book is basically a writer who many times refers to this book that she's reading, and she complains about the things that I was thinking in my head complaining about this book. So basically, this writer in this book complains about this book, which is kind of like Inception in the book, which I found really funny. It's a really funny point of the book. No big deal, really. It's just a funny little touch. And here in this book I found out that I have certain triggers that I didn't know I had. And while during a certain section I was just like kind of going into anxiety attack, kind of. And I didn't appreciate that, so I know now what my trigger is, which I didn't know before, and I will keep an eye on it in the future. But this one was a little bit disappointing. I expected definitely more from it. I gave it 3 stars, but it was definitely fun, and I am very interested in watching the TV series as well. So that's that. Next up, that's the 6th book, is Tower of Rumination, or the point of the novice path is Tower of Rumination, and the prompt is read a 5-star prediction. For 5-star prediction, I picked The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And I picked this as a 5-star prediction because the previous book I read in August by Matt Haig was The Humans, and that one was easiest 5 stars in a fiction for me this year. And it was absolutely brilliant, so I expected a lot from this book as well. And especially if you know what it's about, the main character Nora Seed is struggling. Nora Seed. Yeah. She is struggling in her life, and she decides to commit suicide. And so if that is a trigger for you, tread carefully with this book. However, that's not focus of the book really. Kind of, but not exactly. It's not graphic or in any sense. It's more of a look into a mind and life. And this book is about basically she decides to die. Then she finds herself in the Midnight Library, which is a place between life and death, where there are millions of books, which each book represents a different life that she could have had she made any different decision ever in her life. And then she goes and lives different lives, and tries to find one that she would like to stay living. And this book was really cool, but I like how from the first sentence Matt Haig kind of like sucks you in. Like the first sentence is 19 years before she decided to die, Nora sits in the warmth of the small library at Hazeldean School in the town of Bedford. And it's structured kind of like this, like 19 years before she decided to die, and this kind of like what happened to her and why she decided to die in the end. And well, not in the end, she dies in the beginning, or decides to die in the beginning. And that felt really cool, and like that really sucked me. Like I want to know what's happening. And so this book is really focused on mental health and on the way we live our lives and how we appreciate or don't appreciate our lives. Yeah, I don't know how much I can say without spoiling it, but I'm gonna say that I really enjoyed this book. This was really good and really important for people to read. It could have felt a little bit repetitive, but at the same time I felt like it was very important to go through all these. And yeah, it wasn't quite as good or as enjoyable as The Humans, but I gave it a strong 4 stars because it was really good. And I'm looking at buying the physical copy for myself, so then maybe I can tab it and highlight and stuff because it was really cool. And I would definitely recommend to everyone who feels comfortable with reading it, but to everyone anyway, because it's really, really great and helpful. So that's The Midnight Library. And the last book on the novice path, or the prompt, was Orillium Academy Arc, book with a school setting. And for this I read Felix Ever After by Kirsten Callender. I read this or listened to this on audiobook, so I don't have a physical copy, but this book is coming of age YA romance novel with our main character Felix Love, who is 17 and was never in love, ironically. And he struggles to find love, and he struggles to see all his friends and classmates being in couples and having boyfriends and girlfriends. And he is also transgender, so we see him struggling with his identity and acceptance of his identity as well. And yeah, this book was amazing. I loved it so much. I think it was written so well. I don't usually like YA books because it's just, for me, it feels kind of like very childish. But this book didn't really feel childish, but it felt like, yeah, I remember feeling similarly. Well, not the transgender issue, but the issue with all of my friends are in love and in couples, and I'm not. I know I felt exactly like that when I was in high school as well, and some of the thoughts and the thought process, I remember like, yeah, that's how I felt as well. So it was really, really great book. Yeah, I can't really say more without spoiling it, but it was really interesting and really informative. And it was set at the art school in New York, so it does fulfill the school setting for the prompt. And yeah, this was a great book, and I recommend to absolutely everyone to read this. It's really very nice, not really light, because it tackles all these issues, but at the same time it was very relaxing and kind of palate cleanser between the other books, and it was really easy to listen to it, and I always wanted to come back to listen to more, so that's always a good sign. So I gave that book 4 stars as well. So that's all the books I read, and I managed to read all the 7 books that I wanted to, which I'm really proud of myself. That's a great feat for me. And so I can show you all these books plus Felix Ever After. So yeah, that's that. And this Orillium readathon doesn't end. It only ended in September, the first part. But now we are creating our characters and improving the backstory and everything, and we have until April to read the books that we are supposed to fulfill the prompts for this character. So I'm going to read those books until April. And so to sum up for you, if you haven't seen my previous video, to tell you which books I will be reading. Okay, so let me find the other prompts. Here they are. Okay. So for the background of the character, the background is either wilding or urban. My character Doina is wilding, and for this I have to read a book largely set in a forest or outside. For this I intend to read The Overstory by Richard Powers. This book won a Pulitzer Prize, and that just sounds like a brilliant book. I love the cover, absolutely adore the cover, and it's shiny in a little circle like that as well. It's really beautiful. And yeah, this will be the book I'll be reading. I think it's largely focused on environment and on forest and how we have to protect our forest. So that's the first one. For the next prompt we have for Provence, Doina is from Eartheria, and from Eartheria I'm supposed to read a book that features Fae or Elven characters. For this book, I asked some friends around and some people, and I'm gonna read The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is the first book in the Kingslayer Chronicles series, I believe, and there is one Fae character from what I know, from what I heard. So this is gonna be it. I've been meaning to reading this for a very long time, but I still haven't gotten to it, so now is a great opportunity to get to that. The next prompt is heritage, and now Doina is biracial, and she is a fire earthling and an Eltherian. So for earthling, it's a read a book with elemental magic or an element word in the book or series title. For this I'll be reading A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, because this book is first book in the the Song of Ice and Fire series, and since I'm a fire earthling, Song of Ice and Fire, so it's in the name of the series. And so I'll be reading this one. I already read it approximately 6 years ago, but I didn't quite enjoy it because I wasn't in a great headspace then. So I hope to reread it, especially since the TV show is done and the last season sucked. So I want to read the books and see and hope that they end differently, because that 8th season was bad. But yeah, so I'm gonna read this one. And the last prompt is Iltyrian, and that is a book with a crow on the cover or title, or a red cover book. For this, a perfect book, A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin. This is the 4th book in the series, so I intend to read also the 2nd and 3rd in the series, and then the 4th, this one. And then hopefully the 5th one as well, but I'll see if I will get to it and when, and how fast I'll read these, because these are 1000 pages each, so that's a lot to read. But yeah, we'll see how fast I read through this. And that's it. That's the wrap for the books I plan to read for like the character prompt. So that's all I wanted to talk about. I can't wait until we have more of the readathon, like actual action, readathon action in April. But until then, I'll be reading these 4/6 chunky books. So I'm really excited about that. It's still gonna be a really great adventure. Thank you everyone for watching. Let me know if you read any of these books and what you thought. Let's discuss them. I would really love to know what you thought about these books. And yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you liked it. If you did, please click like and subscribe so you can see all my future content, future videos. And I hope to see you at the next one. Bye!